Start your engines for another YouTube production.
Where am I? Someone help me! It's cold and dark in here.
Fasten your seatbelts for another ZEECRAZYGee video.
Ah! Jesus! Fuck! Fuck it! Oh, fuck my life. Hi guys, ZEECRAZYGee here, and you know what they say, you gotta strike while the iron's hot, you know? With all the talk of Nitro fueled on my channel recently, it only seemed appropriate to take a look at the original sexy polygonal beast that started it all. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you my alternative to Viagra, Crash Team Racing. I've gushed about this game before on this channel, but just to make sure I didn't make myself clear enough, let me clear the air. This is not only, in my opinion, the best Crash Bandicoot game ever made, nay, not only the best kart racer ever made, nay, not only one of the best PS1 games ever made, nay, but one of the best games ever created. Never has there been a game that I have sunk so many hours into over my life than CTR, and for good reason. After Super Mario Kart kickstarted the kart racing genre, the 5th generation of consoles knocked it up a notch, showing what the genre was really capable of in the 3D realm. From this, Mario Kart 64 rose to only then have its dick clipped by Diddy Kong Racing. The N64 was killing it with kart racers, so Sony needed one to call their own. And the formula for kart racers at the time was taking a popular franchise and having its characters resolve their differences not through violent war, but zooming around. Well, who better to turn to on the PlayStation than their golden boy Crash Bandicoot? Naughty Dog had just finished the original trilogy and didn't want to renew their contract with publishers Universal after they treated them like total shit. So they pitched their idea for a new kart racer to Sony, who wanted to make it a Crash game. And after some arrangement, Sony allowed Naughty Dog to work on CTR without the developers having to go through Universal. Then, after just over 8 months of development later, Crash Team Racing unleashed itself onto the world. Now, how could this game even stand alongside, let alone crush two kart racing legends on the N64? A developer with no kart racing experience ever, only 8 months development time? Come on, it's implausible how this could be the best kart racer ever made. Well, therein lies part of the beauty of CTR, and it's a testament to the incredible talent of Naughty Dog as a developer. Despite their lack of experience with the genre and not a lot of time to do so, they managed the impossible. They beat Mario Kart at its own game, taking the levels of the franchise and transforming them into insane, well-designed race courses featuring a roster made up of all the main characters from the series, with the exception of Embryo, and refining the best aspects of what made other kart races work and crafting a masterpiece, a symphony of perfection. In short, CTR is the Bandicoot's bollocks. CTR does most aspects so well, from level design to controls, that it sets such a high standard for kart racers going forward that for me at least has yet to be topped. Even though the Mario Kart series and some other under-the-radar kart racers have all done fine jobs, nothing can match the fast-paced and slick-as-hell feel of CTR. The game is exactly what you'd expect, a kart racer with the crash cast of characters racing around tracks based off levels from the original trilogy, but that's just the surface of things. Where to start here? Well, I guess the premise, because yeah, there is a loose story to this game. Earth is visited by an alien called Nitrous Oxide, the self-proclaimed fastest racer in the galaxy, who has come to challenge the best driver of the planet in a race for its control. Why is he doing this? I don't know, because he's a dickhead. And so we must race to stop him, I guess. It doesn't quite parallel the political and social commentary of Pride and Prejudice, but it's Crash and his mate having a zoom about in a go-kart. I'm not fussed, really. What I am fussed about is how this game plays, and oh boy. The one thing that cements Crash Team Racing's place amongst kart racing royalty is how it controls and feels. It's hard to explain, but I'll do my best. The karts have a nice defined weight to them, yet you feel 100% control of how you maneuver, with the drifting, power sliding and jumping off ledges, moving in midair, and it's all very responsive and smooth. A lot of it centers around the slide boosting mechanic that when you enter a drift, you can time pressing L1 when the meter turns red to earn a boost, up to 3 consecutively per drift. And while it seems reasonably simple, that's only the face of it, since the drifting and boosting system has
layers!
This is where the genius of CTR's control mechanics shine. With the boosting comes the reserve system. This is where boosts are stacked, allowing you to maintain a constant burst of speed by continually chaining the drift boosts and jump boosts. And it's all done with such a sense of exhilaration, fast momentum. It's so smooth, so fluid, so satisfying, so addictive. God, just makes me wanna go! And that's not even going into things like the ultimate sacred fire and that. It's surprisingly deep, but there are videos about these whole systems that I would recommend you watch. Now, all that might actually make it seem quite complicated, but that's really not the case. The controls are very versatile, so it can be easy for newcomers to ease themselves into the basics to get a feel for the handling, but also being quite open and allowing you to gradually learn, experiment with, and improve, becoming more and more familiar with the mechanics to the point where players can just decimate tracks so quickly. And while it has a higher learning curve than something a lot more accessible such as Mario Kart, it's more engaging with how smooth and fast it feels, making it so satisfying to master and pull off some insane shit. It's practically orgasmic in how enjoyable it is to control, and it's a lot more rewarding in that sense. Not to mention the differing stats for the different cards. You have your all-rounder characters, the fast cards which lack turning, the high accelerators, and the turners who lack in speed. Oh, and then there's Penta Penguin, and if you've got the PAL version, Penta is OP as fuck. Even then, though some players may struggle to get the knack of the more complex systems, the gameplay is still insanely engaging and chaotic on its own. The AI is well balanced for all difficulties, and the power-ups are great fun to use and come and go in a flash. The TNT crates, the missiles, the warp orb, the Aku Aku and Uka Uka mask, and if that weren't awesome enough, there's also the Wumpa Fruit system. When you acquire 10 Wumpa Fruit by breaking boxes or collecting it around the track, you become juiced up. Sounds like a fetish. When juiced up, your car not only moves faster, but upgrades your power-ups to either make them more powerful or make them last longer. TNT crates become Nitro crates which hurt you on impact, the Warp Orb still goes for first place but gets every other player in front of you as well, the mask lasts longer, the turbo gives you a bigger boost, and it all works together fantastically to ensure there is rarely a dull moment. Either you're battling it out with the AI or you're boosting on drifting at every opportunity you've got, and it certainly helps that the tracks are a joy to race around. The 18 tracks, as I've said before, take inspiration from levels across the original trilogy, with each character having their own home track. And the level design is quite reminiscent of how Nintendo would design a kart racer track, and that's certainly no bad thing. Each and every level has some unique aspects, with layouts, track hazards, terrains, and well-placed shortcuts, some of which can be done easily and some which test your skill and knowledge of the level a bit more. And that's just the intended shortcuts, as there's also the illegal shortcuts. The ones that are exploits within the level design and used to skip huge portions of the track that the community have discovered on their own. Again, some can be quite simple, but then there's ones that only mad cunts can do. The courses are just so well thought out to accommodate the controls and the mechanics brilliantly, and the basis of using the levels from the original trilogy really gives you the feel of racing through the actual environments from the Crash series and adds a lot to each level's unique feel. Cortex Castle is made of entirely 90-degree turns, Sewer Speedway has you race through half pipes. Every single track is memorable, and I remember each of them off by heart simply because of how well designed, well thought out, and how well themed they are. I mean, yeah, I know jack shit about basic chemistry, haven't the first fucking clue on how to pay my taxes, but at least I can remember each of the CTR tracks. I think what's so impressive though is that the gameplay and design is so good that the Crash Bandicoot theming isn't the forefront here, it's really just a bonus. This was the game that introduced me to the Crash franchise. I had no experience to it prior to this, and yet I was hooked into this game from just how fun it was to play. Now yes, the Crash license does give it its sense of identity and adds so much to its personality, and it's what led me to try out the main series titles. But I just wanted to say that because I think it's just such a testament to how strong the gameplay is on its own. Even then, we've all come to love the control and mechanics and the Crash theming as one perfect package. They all work together to create a great experience. And the presentation certainly does Crash justice here. Granted, compared to the original trilogy, the graphics aren't quite as organic or full of life, but I'm sure it's done to work with the PS1 limitations and compromises to prioritize the fast and fluent gameplay. The detail is still there though, with its wonderful vibrance, and still feels distinctly Crash. The music as well, Joshua Mansell brings that familiar Crash Bandicoot vibe but with a hectic and fast-paced feel to match the sheer speed and insanity of the gameplay. And the sound design as a whole is really great. The voice acting is good, with most of the main cast coming back to reprise their roles, and all the sound effects are just so right, from the menu sounds to the roar of the engine that really complements the fast-paced nature of the game. And the gameplay and mechanics are all tied around CTR's several game modes, the standout here being the adventure mode. Similar to that of Diddy Kong Racing's adventure mode, you access tracks from a central hub area, racing to earn trophies, as well as boss races where bosses talk to you before and after each challenge to add a bit of extra personality.
Papu want in action to lay boom down big.
And I thought King Kahooka from LEGO Racers was racist.
Hook, ha, ha, hook.
Along with these also come the CTR challenges and relic races. In CTR challenges, you have to race as per usual, but in order to validate your finishing position, you have to collect the letters C, T and R around the track, and they can be well hidden a lot of the time. Then you have the relic races, very similar to how they work in the main series games. You race against a clock and smash the time crates around the track to freeze the clock for a few seconds. And much like the main series games, these really test your skill and precision, as well as your knowledge of the level, since crate placements are quite tactical, often meaning you can only hit one in a row per lap, or some may be placed within a shortcut. And of course you have the different tiers of relics, Sapphire, Gold, and finally Platinum for people who hate themselves. The adventure mode overall does a really good job of structuring the game's tracks in a fun and progressive way, and provides great challenges with the other race types. The only real downside is that Aku Aku's mouth will haunt my nightmares. Not to mention, it's the mode where most of the game's additional content is unlocked. You start the game with only 8 characters, but the roster is expandable to 15 overall. But the game is smart in that not everything is unlocked via the adventure, as both the time trial mode and the arcade mode also have rewards of their own, encouraging players to explore all that the game has to offer, especially in something like time trial mode, which is something not many people play in kart races that often, since it's just you on the clock, or so it seems. But CTR offers perhaps its most difficult and strenuous challenges within this mode. If you achieve a fast enough time, Entropy will talk to you and challenge you to beat his best time on that track. This will activate a ghost of him that represents his best time, and beating his ghost on every track will unlock him as a playable character. But it doesn't stop there, as once you have beaten his best time, you will then have to face Nitrous Oxide's best time, once again represented by a ghost racer. And for the uninitiated player, I would compare this experience to having your groin curb stomped. These are very difficult for players who have not mastered the controls and driving mechanics. Oxide takes as many shortcuts as possible and moves very fast, and it's only after a lot of practice and patience that I was able to beat them all for the first time. Now, years later, I'd like to think that I've improved more at the game, so beating them isn't as strenuous as it used to be, but I would only really recommend it for more experienced players and those wanting a challenge, especially considering that the reward for beating all of them is the scrapbook, which shows several pieces of concept art from all the Naughty Dog Crash games. Cool certainly, but it's not worth it when you can simply view it by beating the adventure mode 100%, which is nowhere near as hard. And thankfully the rewards in the arcade mode won't have you rip your pubes out in frustration. By completing all 4 arcade cup tournaments in first place on a certain difficulty, it unlocks a new battle arena for multiplayer, and with 3 different difficulties, it's 3 extra battle arenas to unlock. It's just cool that every aspect of the game rewards you in some way, and that actually leads me on quite well to multiplayer. It's an essential part of any car racing experience. Do you and your friends hate each other? Then well, have I got something for you! Racing against your friends is as fun as ever, and yes, while the game does compromise aspects for the sake of the game running better, such as less AI and a less smooth frame rate, it in no way detracts from how goddamn perfect the gameplay is. And CTR is exactly that to me. Perfection. Majestic. Damn right beautiful. There is a reason why over the 20 years this game has been out, I have constantly come back to it over and over. Never tiring of it, but instead only discovering more, not only about the game itself, but my own skill at the game. Even after so many years of playing, it was only recently that I've been able to achieve Ultimate Sacred Fires, and it only adds to my enjoyment of the game. And that's just because the gameplay is so satisfying and engaging on its own. And when you add Crash and his friends into the mix with all the levels based from the main series games, you get one of, if not the best kart racing experience of all time. And now here we are, 20 years later, with what looks to be a fantastic remake on the horizon, and it's shaping up to be something truly special. Not only taking everything that made the PS1 version so good and remastering it, but building on top of that with further content like the online mode and with all the tracks from the semi-sequel Crash Nitro Kart. I could not think of a better way to celebrate the anniversary of such a great game, and I only hope it introduces more to the sheer bliss that is Crash Team Racing. And Nitro Fueled is not far off now, but I would still seriously recommend that people take a look at the original before it comes out. Especially considering it's available on the PSN store for PS3 and Vita right now for a very good price. Seriously, if you're a fan of kart races, you won't be disappointed. Now with all said and done, I now need to get rid of the raging hard-on I've had for the past 15 minutes or so, and I know just the thing to help it. Thanks very much for watching everyone, like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.